I have not a bag of milk to thrust upon you. One must understand the elements before deconstructing the concoction. So let's talk about milk alternatives. Firstly, we're not going to talk about any of the brands like we did last time with the cheese. We're just going to talk about what kind of milk alternatives there are on the market currently. Why are we talking about milk alternatives right now? Because, well, I can't have dairy without breathing. And so it's important to me. And I'm thrusting that upon you. Let's start with the first milk. Almond milk. It is the most watered down, nutty milk that you can get by almost any brand. It's either Almond Breeze or Silk that has a creamy sweetness, which probably means they add tons of sugar to their almond milk. However, while it is kind of just water nut milk, it is fantastic for cooking. If you want stews or soups, or you're baking breads and other various fluffy, gluten-y treats, it's good for that. It's really good for that. Rice is more thick sugar water. It also has a hint of rice flavor. I wouldn't turn it down. It's great in like your Starbucks drinks or your Dunkin' Donut drinks. I've had it in both of them, and it really adds to the sugar content because that's what you need on top of caffeine. Right? Cashew milk. Weirdly, I see how to make it on the internet everywhere. It's, in theory, very easy to make, which that's something. It's a little on the thin side, a little on the nutty side, but otherwise, totally fine milk. My personal favorite is oat milk. Very sweet. You can taste a little bit of the oat, which is fine because you need oats in your life. I don't understand why you'd ever say no to it. And I love it for everything, for baking, for cooking, for just drinking, which I don't drink milk ever, so that's saying something. Then there's the villainized soy milk. There's this rumor going around that it has estrogen in it, which will make you more feminine, which will throw off your hormones, which is all just a bunch of baloney. It's fine. It is a completely fine dairy substitute for cooking, for drinking, for whatever you need it for. It's fine. It's fine. Coconut milk. It's awful. It just is awful. It tastes like coconut. I hate coconut, by the way. It's terrible in anything. The only time that I use coconut anything is the coconut cream to thicken up my stews because I can't have cream. But why is all this important? Why are dairy alternatives important? Because we use these alternatives to make ice cream, and who doesn't love ice cream? You're sad, you eat ice cream. You're happy, you eat ice cream. It's your birthday, you eat ice cream. Did I mention if you're sad, you eat ice cream? The point is you eat ice cream, and there's not a single person on this planet that doesn't deserve to just smush the cold deliciousness into their gob. We're going to talk about a couple of brands from the last video that also make ice cream on top of cheese. Not together, though. I hope. So I just want to talk about the brands overall from the ice cream stance first. So we're going to hit up Earthgrown again. They're an Aldi brand. They're super affordable, but unfortunately they have limited edition runs constantly, which means, yay, you love this thing, but you're never going to get it again. So that kind of sucks. Ben & Jerry's. Everybody knows Ben & Jerry's. Ben & Jerry's has been going around. Everyone goes, nom. 10 out of 10. Golden Spoon. Good stuff. It's expensive. But it's also good. So delicious. That's like the lower middle income class of dairy alternative ice cream. They're very middle ground. We have Dea again. And guess what? It's super expensive. And hey, Toffetti even makes their own dairy-free ice cream, which they're unique to everything else on this list because their ice cream doesn't actually have a milk alternative. They use cocoa butter and syrups instead of milk alternatives, which makes all of their ice creams super airy and fluffy and kind of gooey and sugary and good. Now this last brand is only a secondhand account. Halo. I thought they were strictly a normal, just dairy cream churn it, keto brand ice cream. Turns out they have some dairy-free flavors, but it's pea protein. And I was told that you have to be very careful about the flavors you pick because the pea protein oftentimes makes it very gritty. Now this is just secondhand information. I've never tried Halo because I didn't even know until like 3 days ago that Halo had any dairy-free ice cream. But let's go back to the Aldi brand, Earthgrown. They've had some pretty standard ice creams and alternatives that they've used to make said ice creams. They've had their chocolate, their vanilla, their mocha. Very staple ice creams. And those three are almond milk based ice creams, which makes them very thin and watery and you lose a lot of flavor. Are they good still? Yes, they're still very good. Would you go back to them? Yeah, because they're cheaper and you don't get them very often. Are they the best? No. Then they had some limited edition runs, such as the raspberry cheesecake made from coconut milk. Now, I hate coconut milk. I don't know if I mentioned that yet. It was good. It genuinely tasted like a cheesecake in the way that I remembered. And it had chunks of this fake little cheesecake and raspberry syrup in it, which was pretty fantastic, in my opinion. And then the other special edition was the coconut milk mint chocolate chip, which this one, you just can't mess up mint chocolate chip. You just can't do it. Unless you're Roundy's, which is now Kroger, which means you can mess it up. But if you're literally anybody else, you can't mess it up. It was good. They also did a brief run on ice cream pops. I don't know what else you'd call it. It was ice cream covered in chocolate on a stick, and you ate it that way. And they did caramel, and they did forest fruit. And both of them, it was like this nice, for the caramel, it was a nice vanilla with like a little swirl of caramel going through it with a nice crunchy chocolate topping. And that was really, really good. The forest fruit was a raspberry base with like this raspberry syrup throughout, again with the chocolate coating, and again it's good. It was refreshing. It reminded me of summer, and I wish that it's just another thing I wish that would come back. So Ben & Jerry's, they know what they're doing when they do ice cream, whether it's regular churned cream or it's dairy free. I don't know what their magicians are doing in that factory, but they're doing something right. I've had the Cherry Garcia, and I've never liked Cherry Garcia, so I give it a 5 out of 10. It's not bad. It's Cherry Garcia. It is like vanilla with cherry and chocolate. It's pretty underwhelming in my opinion, but I understand that a lot of people like it. There's also their cookie dough, which you can't mess up cookie dough. It's cookie dough. It's vanilla and cookie dough, which cookie dough can already be dairy-free pretty easily. their coffee caramel fudge. I just remember that it had a lot going on. It wasn't bad. It wasn't notably memorable. Would I get it again? No, because I've seen it in stores and I went, meh, not really for it. I don't really like chocolate with my coffee. And I don't really like caramel with my chocolate. They do have a special ice cream that I can't seem to find anymore. But it was very important at a very pivotal point in my life. At this point in time, I was physically incapable of standing, and eating hurt. And the only thing that I could eat that didn't taste like tin and didn't upset everything going on was caramel almond brittle. And you know how good this thing was? It surpassed my medical issues, made my day a gajillion times better, and I had a husband who was really turned off by vegan things at the time and ate it with me and ate half of it from me at the time because it was so good. I haven't seen a whole lot of Daiya ice cream products. I did mention their cheesecake in the last video concerning cheese, and I have since seen their chocolate fudge crunch pops, kind of like how Earth Grown had theirs, and I'd say it's pretty middle of the road, pretty underwhelming. It's like a crunch bar, but ice cream, and about as good of quality, and nobody likes Nestle either, so thank you, Dumpster Fire. You're doing a great job. So Delicious does it all, kind of. They're another middle class suburban ice cream. But they do some things right, such as their oat milk. Their oat milk ice creams are absolutely to die for. Their oatmeal cookie, I kid you not, just tasted like an oatmeal cookie in vanilla. Even the vanilla tasted like it was part of the cookie, not just oatmeal, not just a cookie in ice cream, but a cookie fused with ice cream. And the same can be said about the caramel apple crumble. It was vanilla ice cream fused with a crumble. Oat milk is magic. They also have filthy coconut milk, which is the thing that gets me about coconut milk with ice cream is that when you put your spoon in and you go to scrape your scoop out, it just shatters like glass and then tastes like water first and then secondary whatever flavor that it's supposed to be. And it's garbage. And So Delicious tried so hard to be better than that. But they were working with garbage materials. You don't just give someone a broken bottle and go fill it with wine and make it wonderful. I tried their Oso strawberry, which I already hate strawberry ice cream. And it was okay, I guess. And their coconut milk based cookie dough, which I did say earlier you can't mess up cookie dough, which in this case they didn't mess it up, but then we get back to the initial issue of shattering glass and then cookie dough flavor, which the cookie dough flavor kind of makes up for the shattering glass. They also have cashew milk, which I think we talked about as very sweet, a little on the thin side, kind of nutty, and to be honest with you, they're not memorable. I had the dark chocolate truffle, which just tasted like chocolate because it had chunks of chocolate truffle in it. But the rest of the ice cream was just nothing. And the Bananas Foster had chocolate chips in it, which you tasted the chocolate chips in a vague kind of like, you know how people say LaCroix, you can taste it from the other room where someone is screaming the flavor? It's that, but banana in ice cream with chocolate chips. And hey, we're back to Toffetti, which we already talked about. Not milk alternatives, but still really good. And I've tried 3 of their flavors, and they're all super airy, super sweet, and they don't, if you're dairy free, they don't hurt you. I looked at the ingredients list for one of them, which is called Wild Berry Supreme, and I didn't see any gluten, so if you're gluten intolerant, I'm pretty sure you can have these as well, even though they're just marketed to dairy free people. The vanilla almond bark wasn't much different than the vanilla fudge. They're just, it's like having chocolate chips in there instead of streaks of fudge, but the flavor profile is pretty much exactly the same. And the Wild Berry Supreme just tastes like you're eating a fruit puree. There are 2 other things that I encountered along my ice cream path that are notable, but not particularly special. First is Cado. It is an avocado-based ice cream, and it is weird. You have to get past that initial kind of, if you've ever just eaten an avocado, you know that kind of that squish, that kind of aftertaste it brings, and that exists in the ice cream, even in the case of the dark chocolate ice cream. That it was the dark chocolate and then you got hit with the avocado flavor, which wasn't a turnoff. It was just different. And I don't, for like $5 a pint, I don't know if I'd ever go back to it. And the last item is from Earthgrown, and it was a sort of ice cream chocolate cake. It had to be frozen. That's what I remember about it. I remember it was about the same size as the Dea cheesecakes that I complained about in the cheese video. But it was just a chocolate cake. And I guess it just kind of, it was just the cold chocolate cake version of their almond milk ice cream. So a lot of what I've said has varied greatly, and I don't think that's an understatement at all. And much like what I said in the cheese video, is you have to think of them as a beast of their own, because they're just not traditional cream ice creams, but they are in fact ice cream. If you ever encounter some dairy alternative ice cream, I don't know, I would encourage you to try it, because you might end up really liking it, because alternatives, whether it's avocado or a nut milk or a syrup along with cocoa butter, it can offer different textures, flavors, and just a culinary experience. So if you have someone in your life that might be a little hesitant to try vegan or alternatives, try to pose that to them. I hope you learned something from this. I hope that you think and or consider trying a dairy alternative ice cream. And most importantly, remember to do your chores and drink your water. Thanks.